As a retired military veteran who settled in a Texas suburban neighborhood 15 years ago, I never imagined my biggest battle would be fought not in some foreign desert, but right here in my own backyard. This HOA revenge story begins with a simple property dispute and ends with the sweet taste of justice. If you've ever dealt with homeowners association drama or power-abusing HOA board members, you'll want to hear how I fought back when they built a swimming pool on my property. The Texas sun beat down on my lawn as I stood there, hands on my hips, staring at the surveyor's stakes that marked my property line. 15 years ago, when I'd bought this house after retiring from the Army, I'd chosen this particular neighborhood because it promised peace and quiet. The HOA had seemed reasonable enough, just some basic rules to keep property values up and maintain the community's appearance. How naive I was. "Morning, Jim," called out my neighbor Margaret from her porch. She was watering her petunias, something she did religiously every morning at precisely 7:30 a.m. "Morning, Margaret," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just checking the property lines again." She shook her head, her silver hair catching the sunlight. "Still having trouble with the HOA board?" "The same," I sighed. "They're insisting that my fence is 6 inches over the common area, even though I've shown them the original survey 3 times. Margaret tesked. "That new board president, Karen Thompson, has been on a power trip since she got elected last year. Mark my words, she's going to cause trouble for everyone before this is over." Little did I know how prophetic Margaret's words would prove to be. 2 weeks later, I received a certified letter from the HOA. Inside was a formal notice demanding I move my fence within 30 days or face fines of $100 per day. What made my blood boil was the attached survey conducted by a company I'd never heard of that showed my property line 3 feet inside where it should have been. I immediately called my attorney, a former JAG officer I'd served with in the military. "Jim, this is ridiculous," Tom said over the phone. "We have the original survey from when you bought the house. We'll get our own surveyor out there and settle this once and for all." The following week, Tom met me at my house with a licensed surveyor who spent the entire day taking precise measurements. As I suspected, my fence was exactly where it was supposed to be, right on the property line. "I don't understand why they're doing this," I told Tom as we reviewed the surveyor's report. "What's their angle?" Tom rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Maybe they want to expand the common area for some reason. Or perhaps Karen Thompson just enjoys throwing her weight around." Whatever the reason, I sent a copy of the official survey to the HOA board along with a letter from Tom demanding they drop the issue. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Paul, have you ever had to deal with an HOA making false claims about your property? Vote now. A month passed without any response from the HOA. Then, one Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of heavy machinery. Peering through my window, I couldn't believe my eyes. Construction workers were digging up part of my backyard, the part adjacent to the supposed common area the HOA was claiming. I stormed outside, still in my bathrobe. "What in God's name are you people doing?" I demanded. The foreman, a burly man with a hard hat and clipboard, approached me. "Morning, sir. We're contracted by the HOA to install a community swimming pool." "This is my property," I exclaimed, pointing to the stakes from my surveyor. "Look, those markers show where my property line is. You're digging on my land." The foreman looked confused. "The HOA gave us a survey showing this as common area. We have permits and everything." "I don't care what they gave you," I said, my voice rising. "You're trespassing. I want you off my property now." He shrugged. "Sir, I'm just following orders from the HOA. If you have a dispute with them, you'll need to take it up with them." Furious, I called Tom immediately. "They're building a pool on my property, Tom, right now." "I'm on my way," he said. "Don't do anything rash. Let me handle this." By the time Tom arrived, the workers had already excavated a large portion of my backyard. Tom confronted the foreman, showing him our official survey and demanding they cease work immediately. The foreman made a call to the HOA president, Karen Thompson, who apparently told him to continue working. "This is going to get ugly," Tom warned me. "They're clearly disregarding the law. We'll need to get a court order to stop them." The next Monday, Tom filed for an emergency injunction. 2 days later, we were in court before a judge who listened to our case, reviewed the surveys, and promptly ordered the HOA to cease all construction on my property. The victory was short-lived. When I returned home from the courthouse, I discovered that not only had the workers ignored the court order, but they had already poured the concrete foundation for the pool and were beginning to install the plumbing. "This is contempt of court," Tom fumed as he took pictures of the ongoing construction. "I'm calling the judge immediately." The judge was furious. He issued a new order, this time with a provision for the sheriff's department to enforce it if necessary. Finally, the next day the construction stopped. But the damage was done. My backyard was a mess of concrete, pipes, and excavated earth. What would you do if your HOA built a pool on your property despite court orders? A. Sue for damages. B. Fill in the pool yourself. Sell. Sell your house. And move. The HOA board called an emergency meeting, and to my surprise, they invited me to attend. I walked into the community center to find about 50 homeowners gathered, with Karen Thompson presiding at the front of the room. "Jim, thank you for coming," she began, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding about the property lines." "A misunderstanding?" I repeated, incredulous. "You ignored a court order and built a pool on my property." Karen smiled tightly. "As I said, a misunderstanding. Now, since the pool is already partially built, we were thinking we could come to an arrangement. We'd like to purchase that strip of land from you." "You want to buy the land after you've already destroyed it and built on it illegally?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. "We're prepared to offer you fair market value," Karen continued, as if I hadn't spoken. "Plus, we'll give you a lifetime membership to the pool." The audacity of it left me speechless for a moment. Then I found my voice. "You have got to be kidding me! You illegally build on my property, ignore a court order, destroy my yard, and now you want me to sell you the land and say thank you for the privilege?" A few people in the audience shifted uncomfortably. Karen's smile tightened. "Jim, be reasonable. The pool is already there. It would benefit the entire community." "No," I said firmly. "You will remove every bit of that pool from my property, restore my yard to its original condition, and pay for all damages and legal fees. That's my final offer." Karen's eyes narrowed. "That's not acceptable. We'll see you in court." "You already did," I reminded her. "And you lost." Over the next few weeks, Tom and I prepared for what promised to be a lengthy legal battle. The HOA, meanwhile, seemed to be proceeding as if they had every right to be on my property. They even went so far as to send me a letter stating that if I didn't agree to sell them the land, they would place a lien on my house for the cost of the pool construction. Tom was incensed. "They can't do that, Jim. It's completely illegal. We'll countersue for everything we can: damages, emotional distress, legal fees, the works." Have you ever faced HOA injustice like this? Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one and might feature your experience in an upcoming video. As the legal battle heated up, something unexpected happened. Other neighbors began coming forward with stories of their own conflicts with Karen Thompson and the HOA board. When it was my turn, I laid out the entire story: the false survey, the illegal construction, the ignored court orders, the demand that I sell them my land after they'd essentially stolen it. I brought pictures of my destroyed yard and copies of all the legal documents. "This isn't just about my property," I concluded. "It's about the rule of law and basic decency. No one should have to put up with this kind of abuse from the very organization that's supposed to be looking out for our interests." The vote was unanimous. Karen Thompson and her entire board were removed, and a new interim board was elected, with Margaret as the new president. "I know we can't undo what's been done to your yard, Jim," Margaret said afterward, "but I promise you, we'll make this right." The new board immediately fired the HOA's attorney, who had been advising Karen throughout our dispute, and hired Tom to represent the association. They also voted to pursue legal action against the former board members personally for the damages they had caused. Just when it seemed like justice was finally being served, we discovered something that would change everything about this case. During the discovery process for our lawsuit against the former board members, Tom uncovered something shocking. Karen Thompson had been using HOA funds to pay for personal expenses, including vacations and home renovations. She had also been receiving kickbacks from the construction company that built the pool. We're talking about embezzlement, fraud, and corruption, Tom explained when he shared the findings with me. This goes way beyond a simple property dispute. The new board filed a criminal complaint against Karen and the former board members. The district attorney's office launched an investigation, and before long, Karen was facing criminal charges. Meanwhile, my yard still had a half-built pool in it. The new board wanted to complete the construction, arguing that it would be a waste of money not to finish it. But I was adamant. I don't want a pool that was built illegally on my property, I told Margaret. I want my yard back. We understand, Jim, she said. But the cost to remove it and restore your yard is substantial. The HOA's insurance is refusing to cover it, calling it a disputed claim. So what's the solution? I asked. Tom had an idea. Since the pool was built illegally, and the HOA has admitted fault, we can argue that it's essentially abandoned property on your land. As such, you have the right to remove it. And send them the bill? I asked, a slow smile spreading across my face. Exactly, Tom grinned. We sent a formal notice to the HOA, giving them 30 days to remove the pool and restore my yard. They didn't respond. After the 30 days had passed, I hired a contractor to fill in the pool with concrete and restore the yard to its original condition. The day the work began, Karen Thompson showed up. She had been released on bail pending her criminal trial, and apparently had nothing better to do than harass me. "You can't do this!" she shrieked as the workers began breaking up the concrete foundation of the pool. "This is community property!" "It's my property, Karen," I said calmly. "You had your chance to remove it. Now you're going to pay for the privilege of having me do it." The workers spent 3 days breaking up the pool, hauling away the debris, and filling in the hole with fresh concrete. Then they brought in new topsoil and sod, restoring my yard to better than its original condition. When the work was done, Tom sent the bill nearly 50-0 to the HOA, along with a letter demanding payment within 30 days or face further legal action. The look on Karen Thompson's face when she realized I had filled in the pool with concrete and was sending the HOA the bill was priceless. She actually turned pale and had to sit down. The new board was in a difficult position. They wanted to do the right thing, but the HOA's finances were in shambles thanks to Karen's embezzlement. They simply didn't have the money to pay the bill. Tom suggested a novel solution. Since the former board members are personally liable for their actions, we can go after them individually for the cost. And that's exactly what we did. We filed lawsuits against Karen Thompson and the other former board members, seeking damages for the cost of removing the pool and restoring my yard, plus legal fees and emotional distress. Karen, facing criminal charges and now multiple civil suits, finally cracked. She agreed to a settlement that included paying the entire cost of restoring my yard, plus additional damages. The other board members settled as well, though for lesser amounts since they weren't as directly involved as Karen. By the time everything was settled, nearly a year had passed since the first surveyor's stakes had appeared on my lawn. My yard was beautiful again, perhaps even better than before. The HOA had new bylaws that prevented the kind of abuse Karen and her board had engaged in, and Karen herself was facing prison time for her crimes. If you found this HOA revenge story satisfying, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about homeowners association drama and property rights victories. We have new videos every week. One afternoon, as I was sitting on my back porch enjoying a glass of iced tea, Margaret stopped by. "I just wanted to thank you, Jim," she said, taking a seat in the chair next to me. "If you hadn't stood up to Karen, who knows how long she would have continued to abuse her power." I shrugged. "It was the right thing to do. Nobody should have to put up with that kind of treatment." "Well, the neighborhood is a better place because of it," Margaret said. "People are actually getting involved in the HOA now, instead of just ignoring it. We're having community barbecues and block parties. It's like a real neighborhood again." I smiled. "That's good to hear. That's what I hoped for when I moved here 15 years ago." As Margaret left, I looked out over my yard, now green and peaceful. The battle had been long and stressful, but justice had prevailed. The HOA had learned a valuable lesson about overstepping their authority, and I had defended my property rights against all odds. Some people might say I went too far by filling in the pool with concrete. Do you think my actions were justified? Or should I have tried to work with the HOA to find a different solution? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This HOA revenge story serves as a reminder that homeowners associations exist to serve the community, not to wield power over individual homeowners. When they forget that, it's up to people like us to hold them accountable. Whether you're dealing with HOA fines, property disputes, or power-abusing board members, remember that you have rights, and there are legal ways to fight back. Have you ever had to fight your HOA? What was your experience like? Share your HOA revenge stories in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our other videos about homeowners association, drama, and property rights victories. If you're facing HOA issues yourself, remember to document everything. Get professional legal advice and know your rights. Sometimes, as in my case, you have to be willing to stand your ground and fight for what's right. It might not be easy, but as my story shows, justice can prevail. Thanks for watching. And remember, your home is your castle, and nobody has the right to take that away from you. This story is for entertainment purposes, though based on real events. Names and some details have been changed to protect privacy. Always consult with a qualified legal professional for advice regarding your specific situation.